Going to prison was the most inspirational thing that ever happened in my life. Believe it or not, going to prison was the most inspirational thing that ever happened in my life. Not because of something the prison does, not because of something the Department of Corrections does, not because being in imprisonment works to reform a man. No, none of that is the reason. In fact, there is nothing that the prison system does to reform a person. When you go to prison, you're basically just warehoused. They just give you a place to live, different from where you were living, and you're confined to a property and you can't leave that property. That's pretty much what prison is. But what happens to some people who go there, they say prison is a womb or a tomb. In the case of it being a tomb, most people will go there and get into crazy stuff. They will get into gangs and homosexuality, and they will get into fights, and they will get into all kinds of things that will make their stay worse and longer. So the more disciplinary action you get in prison, they can impose more time on you. But that's not why. The reason my life changed is because my eyes were opened to see what was really going on in prison, in society, and why I was there, and how the prison system works, and what it does, and what its purpose is. Once I got to prison, I was really depressed about being there. Being born and raised in Chicago, I was really kind of just doing my thing, in the 60s, 70s, being a child in the 70s, coming up on the block, what I'm saying? You get clipped, whatever, you go, you do your time. But something happened that made prison more of a womb than a tomb. It's like I had a lot of time to discover myself. I had a lot of time to ask myself the hard questions. I had a lot of time to reflect on all that I had done, whether those deeds were good or whether those deeds were bad. I had an opportunity to become a whole person in that I spent a lot of time with me. When you're in what inmates call the free world, which is a term that means you're not in prison, you're free. That's kind of like the Christians think of heaven, One day we're going to go to heaven. We say one day we're going to be in the free world. And the free world to us is like heaven. Anyway, you get an affinity for how things work and who you are and why you're there. And while you're there, if that epiphany happens to you to start getting to know yourself, you start balancing your karma, which basically means that every sin I've committed in my life, I want to make amends for. And I know sin seems like a religious word. It's really not in terms of what we think sin is. Once we have a transgression of thought against someone and we put out negative energy toward ideas and thoughts, and they accumulate like cash in a computer, or dirt in a vacuum cleaner, or sludge in a motor of a car. It wears the car down, and our karma gets full of negative energy. And I wanted to have an opportunity to be balanced. That was specifically what I asked for. That's what my spiritual quest was for prison, that when I left there, I would be totally even, that I would be +1. I wanted everything that I had ever done to be cleansed away from me, and I would be a balanced person when I left. And so, since you have a lot of time to get to know who you are, you ask yourself the tough questions, you dump your spirit. Every emotional trauma you've ever had or emotional thought comes to the surface, and you're able to clean your spirit. You're able to just dump everything out, which in my case was good. And when that happened, I was totally empty. I was totally paid off. I was totally at zero again. And I could start putting good stuff in. And so I started to read and read and read and read. And I came across books on neuroscience. Why people do what they do. Why people act the way they act. I came across books on religion, philosophy, psychology, sociology, and law. And all we do in prison, since you have so much time, all you do is read. You read at a constant level. Religion. I must have read the Bible 12 times or 15 times, along with the Quran and the Nag Hammadi scrolls. I was reading all sorts of things. The Bhagavad Gita, I was reading that. I was reading all sorts of things just to open my mind up, to put good stuff in, to understand people, to know why they did what they did. And I had a plan when I came out that my spirit would be level, that I would have no negative energy against anyone. And I would hope that no one had any against me. It was the best thing that ever happened. Why can't we do that in what we call the free world? Because there's just too much noise. That's why religion doesn't really work. Because there's a lot of noise, and it's hard to quiet your mind. It's hard to find that inner quiet place. It's hard to find that still room, that upper room of quietness in your mind where you can concentrate on yourself. I found that place, and I was there. It's inside of you. As Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within us. Not to get religious, but that's the truth of it, is that the kingdom of heaven is not a place you go when you die. It would be useless. It's a place you can go while you're alive, if you know how. You can go anytime you want. You can go within yourself quietly, look into your own mind, walk around yourself, walk around your mind, walk around your spirit, and just love on yourself and feel inspired about who you are and what your greatness is, just because. And then I realized that there was no need for somebody to come and save me. I could save myself. I know that sounds strange. What I mean by that is by getting to know me and what my triggers are and what my motivations are and what my highs and lows are and what brings those about, I can manage myself, my own emotions and my own thoughts. And peace be still my own spirit. It's a wonderful thing. And the good news is when you learn to do it, you can help other people do it. And so that's what this channel is about, Lazarus Erect. It's about our great kings and our virtuous queens. The Bible says, those who have ears, let them hear. Everybody won't hear this conversation. It'll go right past a lot of people. But for those people who this conversation is for, who this channel is for, will hear it and they will respond. As I say, it's not for everybody, but understanding why I was in the prison, what the prison is, what prison is designed to do, why it's there and why I was there is a different conversation for a different day. But let it suffice to say that I'm glad I went to prison, not to say that I'd want to do it again, but I'm glad I went because I know what the benefit of it was. You don't have to go to prison to have an enlightenment or to become conscious, but it's hard to do in the day-to-day struggle, hustle, bustle. Go to church on Sunday, run back out on Monday, do your thing. You know, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim or Christian or Hebrew Israelite or Jew or African conscious. There has to be time within yourself to get to know yourself. And we don't have that. And since I've been home from prison, I can tell you the free world that we fantasize about getting to when we're in prison, in reality, it's not what I expected. But that's not necessary for others to be what I expect them to be. As long as I am what I expect me to be. The responsibility is for me to do and be what I am supposed to do and be. This video basically is for those who have not found out who they're supposed to be. Why I went to prison or why I'm better because I went to prison is something personal for me. I want to share with you. What I want you to get out of this video is, are you in prison? Are you in prison outside the prison? Because the prison is not the building that they housed us in. The prison is our mind. The prison of our thoughts. The prison of what we believe. The prison of what limits us. What we think about who we are and what we think about who other people are. Being in that prison, as long as I was, 5 years day to day, gave me a lot of perspective on me. And I'm so glad to say it was one of the best experiences I have ever had. Not to say that I'd want to do it again, but I truly know who I am. because I had the time to look, to see, to think, to feel, to experience, and get to know me. And because of that, my karma is balanced. I know who I am. I know what my mission is. This is why I'm better after I went to prison